Welcome.
Attention, please.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome to the No Comfort Zone podcast. It's time to get out of your comfort zone and live on purpose. Broadcasting to the world from Rockford, Illinois. This is your wake-up call.
Warning.
You are the solutions to all your problems. Stop thinking average. Become the hero version of yourself. Every day, every time, without fail, no exceptions. It all matters. You've entered the No Comfort Zone. It's time for a reality check.
Yep, this is your reality check. Where are you at in your life right now? Where do you find yourself? Where do you want to be in your life right now? If you're not where you want to be at now, if not, why not? And why not now? That question was asked to me back in the 90s when I was in Virginia. Somebody asked me that. Why not you? Why not now? I always thought about that. It was just easy. It just kind of, sounded right to me. I want to throw this at you. I want to throw this your way. I haven't done an origin podcast, I think, in a long time. And in case you've heard it before, I really appreciate you still listening. And if you've never heard this before, I'm going to give you a quick synopsis, a very brief synopsis of why I do this podcast and how it's going to benefit you. From what I'm starting to realize this, if you actually listen to this podcast, maybe 5 times, I think you get hooked. Because I'm starting to see it just grow and get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I never thought it would be this big. I never had any inclination that I'd be reaching this many people. And I really do thank you so much for continuing to listen to me rant on my way to and from work. But more importantly, I hope you find this podcast and you realize that I do believe in you. And, it's not the end if you think you're at the end. And definitely if you think you've arrived, man, you have such a further place to go. Because it ain't about you anymore, whether you're in adversity or whether you're massively successful. Your life ain't about you anymore. And that's really what I want to get to. And my origin story comes down to this. I was brought up the right way. I learned some good, valuable morals, and I had some good work ethic and ethics instilled in me. But I chose the easy way out most of my life. Anybody that knows me growing up will tell you that. I was never considered very smart. As a matter of fact, I would say maybe 6 months ago, an old friend from my past actually came in to visit me at my business and actually made some funny remarks about me being able to multitask and that I've come a long way because I can actually do 2 things at once. And they were taking a major shot at me because I knew when I was growing up I wasn't the sharpest knife in the drawer or the brightest bulb out there. I wasn't very smart, and I knew that. It took a long time for me to agree that I needed to learn a lot and I needed to understand things. I'll tell you, I'll be the first person. I'm one of the slowest learning guys in the room, just the way I'm built. I hate people when they come up to me and say, I'm a quick learner. Well, are you? I don't know if you're a quick learner or not. That's great. It means a high IQ. You can actually solve problems quickly. But I think people in my family will tell you that I was tested young and I have a high IQ. It just takes me a long time to learn things. But the difference is when I learn it, then I learn it really well. And when I learn it really well, I can apply it. And when I apply it, I can gain some really good things called wisdom. But wisdom doesn't happen for me until I fail first. But that doesn't have to be true for you. So I failed really big, actually, by missing the bullet, landing on my feet. As my brother told me, no matter what I do, no matter what choices I make, I would always seem to land on my feet. That only goes so far. And right around the time, 27 years old, I knew I had a problem with alcohol. I knew I had a problem in my marriage. I knew I had a problem with my business, with my spending. I knew all these problems were there. But I let it go for about 10 more years, maybe 8 more years, until finally all the problems that I had came to my doorstep. And what really ended up happening to me was, by basically not paying attention to what was going on in my life, the wife gone. Best thing that ever happened to me, though. So in case you're listening, one of my biggest mistakes I've made was with that relationship because I did it for the wrong reasons. I don't blame her. I made the wrong decisions for the wrong reason. It was a bad decision and it cost me a lot and I learned a lot, but I have a ton of wisdom now for it. So in the end, I was able to find the woman of my dreams and marry her based on all the failures that I've had in relationships. And I was married before that too. And another bad decision. We've talked about that before. The point I'm trying to make is I'm not going to keep making the same mistakes over and over again, because after my reality checks, I realized that I was terrible at relationships. And the worst relationship I had was with me. I wasn't being honest with myself. I wasn't true to me. I was always looking for somebody to make me feel better about myself. Maybe you're there now. But when I realized that I don't really need a relationship to feel great about myself, the right person showed up right in my life, and anybody that knows her and knows me from the past realized that this person is a huge impact and a huge influence on my life because I'm actually in love for all of the right reasons. Now, with that being said, let's go back to Tragedy Lane. All of these decisions, the divorce happened, the alcoholism set in, the lack of parenting set in, bankruptcy set in, loss of job, loss of self-esteem, loss of everything, loss of any dignity. And that's where the suicide came in. That's where the attempt came in. That's where the short relationships with all the wrong people came in. Compounding my problem day after day, bad relationship, bad situation. And I kept repeating it over and over again. I kept making the same stupid mistakes, getting bigger and bigger. And then now I've got tragedy everywhere I go. And now, did I land on my feet? Absolutely not. I landed in a coma. I was in a coma for 7 days. And then after the coma, realizing that I made an attempt on my life through swallowing a bunch of massive pills, you know, all the people that I was partying with and hanging out, they were nowhere to be found. It was a horrible time in my life. And I was alone and I couldn't walk and couldn't talk. And I was embarrassed and I was humiliated and I was scared and I didn't know what I was going to do. And here I am. I think I was like 37, 38 years old. The time's a blur back then. But yeah, I had a really hard time based on all my bad decisions. And I believe that I paid the price and then some. To this day, I still have consequences with broken relationship of my kids. But you know what the worst part is? And it's not about my kids because that can be repaired and that's being worked on now. The worst part about this whole thing is all of the support and everything that I had along the way, I was being enabled by everybody around me. You'll be okay. Everything's fine. They'd float me a little bit of money here and there. I was a train wreck. And no matter what I did, based on the child support laws that are in Illinois, I was giving out more, and I was my own attorney. So let me just tell you, that was the dumbest thing I ever did. But I was giving out more than I was making. So I kept getting myself in the hole, and I was paying out a lot. And I was being humiliated every time I'd go see them and their new boyfriend and their new house and stuff while I'm living at my mom's house. It was a terrible time in my life. I felt so inadequate. But as I rebuilded my way back up, and with the support of my family and with the support of, some people along the way, there's some people out there that really helped me out. Agran was one of them. I mentioned him before in another podcast. My mom supported me. My deceased stepfather, Greg, supported me. All these things, the support that I had, and quite frankly, I just wasn't feeling it. I still was like, I was sober now at this point, but I truly wasn't happy. So I kept making the same mistakes I was making before, except without the drugs and the alcohol. And why am I talking about this now? Because it's my origin story. And what ended up happening next is I got myself back on my feet. I got myself back to a level of success. I got myself, in this relationship that was so wonderful. I ended up buying a home where I was, down and out for a while. I had nowhere to go, and I was living in my car a couple times. I was on people's couches. For Christ's sake, for 2 years, I think I can count about 22 different places that I slept. I think that's the real number. No matter where I was across the country, doing sales training and leadership training, living on other people's couches. How embarrassing is that? And just a really miserable time. But I'll tell you what, after steadfast working every single day towards the objective and living well below my means, living on burritos, buying diapers and buying formula for my 1-year-old at the time, but still remaining to be sober, going home to an air mattress and a card table, having him on the weekends, and being in a position that thought everything was fine, getting clothes from the Salvation Army and hand-me-downs. Yeah, it was a brutal time in my life. It was a terrible time in my life. I wouldn't turn it away from anything else, but here's what happened. I ended up getting comfortable. I ended up finding a little bit of success. I ended up realizing that I can have this without being, inebriated. I can do this being sober. And this is what life's all about. But then I had it all again, and I got miserable. I got miserable because the doctor told me that I'm fat and I'm unhealthy. And I looked at where I was at in my life and who I was working with and where I was at. And I just realized no matter what, I'm not following my ambitions. I'm not living to my potential. And if I continue to go this way, I think I was 40-ish at the time. I don't even know anymore. I was in my 40s, early 40s. And I said to myself, I don't want to go out this way. I don't want to be overweight. I have diabetes. I don't want to have a heart attack. I don't want to have a stroke. And I just want to live a better life. And it scared the crap out of me, and I decided to do something about it. So I went home, I ran in place, you know the story, in my work clothes, and I made the decision that I was just going to work my ass off, and I was going to get uncomfortable at every minute and every moment that I could because I was afraid of dying average. Terrified of being average. Terrified of being thought of as being successful, but in my heart knowing I never lived to my potential. So I said, screw all that. So I wrote it down in a timeline. I looked at my entire life over the course of a few days, and I looked at all the moments in my life that I thought I was successful, that other people thought I was successful, and in fact, I realized it was an absolute failure. I listed out what those things were, and I said the reasons why I made those decisions. I made those decisions to feel better, but it was an emotional decision to feel better. But what was the tried and true response I should have done? I should have rolled up my sleeves and I should have went to work. I should have rolled up my sleeves and I should have put my hands up and I should have punched that person in the face. I should have stood up for myself. I should have been a man about things, and I wasn't. And I said, never again. Never again. So, yeah, I've become a little controversial. Some people I've distanced myself from. But truth be told, at the end of the day, I made all the right decisions because I made decisions for me. My relationship with my wife is amazing. I have a passionate, wonderful, fun, exciting life with my life. I'm happy. My kids' relationships with the two that live with me, I have a great relationship with them. The two that don't, I'm working on it. My stepdaughter's relationship and I have a great relationship. I want to let you know this, that by me getting outside of my comfort zone has changed who I am as a person, and I'm able to help more people. And this isn't one of those things where buy my product and you're going to solve all your problems. No, this is me connecting with you, saying, Dan, go to dan@thenocomfortzone.com, thenocomfortzone.com, and tell me I'm dealing with some adversity, similar to what you talked on your podcast. I want to know a way out. I want to know how you're going to help me. I ain't going to help you. I'm going to show you the path for you to help yourself so you can really enjoy life. Because those problems you have in front of you right now, if you deal with them, they will catapult you to success. That's the way God wants it. Here's some adversity, deal with it, get through it, and I'll give you a bigger problem to solve later on so you can start enjoying your life. That's the way it works. There is no easy way out. I've been there. Over and over again, I've been there. And if you know me, and I keep saying, and if we've crossed paths, if we've talked, you know my story. Christ, you hear it here on this podcast. I'm just willing to do this. Be vulnerable and put it all out there and be real with you so I can be real, I can be very relevant, and I can be very raw. And at the end of the day, if you want it, I'll help you get there. How bad do you want it? How hard do you want to work? I got a proven path that works for me. Success isn't designed to be about things. But if you want things, this is the way to get it. If you want to feel better about yourself, this is the way to do it. I have no degree in psychology whatsoever, but I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express. It's a commercial. I'm joking. But I was in a mental institution. I realized what people go through. And I went through that period in my life to learn. To learn that pills don't work for me. Therapy did. I got to reprogram my mind. I reprogrammed my mind and I realized that I'm not a bad person. Never was. I just took the easy way out. Was I lazy? I don't think I was lazy. I was creative. Was I doing things with intention? No, and that's the problem. And doing this at this point in your life is awesome because of one thing. Tomorrow can be a better day if you get outside of your comfort zone and you start living on purpose.
Say goodbye.
Want more of the No Comfort Zone? You can follow Dan on Instagram and Twitter at NoComfortZone1.
Bye.
Or on the web at thenocomfortzone.com.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the No Comfort Zone podcast.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.